and gentlemen, it is Monday, which means we are hitting the waiver wire hard. We're gonna give you, in this video, the top 15 players to pick up, a couple defenses in there. We're gonna go over a couple quarterbacks, 5 running backs, 5 wide receivers and a tight end so that we can continue to build the best roster together. If you're new or haven't done it yet, please like and subscribe. It really helps me out a bunch, enables me to do what I love so I can keep bringing you the content that you love. If you have any questions as the week progresses, please drop those down below. I'll hit up my sleeper app on there as well in case you guys want to reach out through that avenue. Enough all of that, let's hop to it with this week's waiver wire targets. Start with Daniel Jones, whose ownership plummeted, and rightfully so, after he struggled over the last couple of weeks. He did bounce back last week in week 7 against Carolina, finishing in the top 10, and this week he gets the Chiefs defense, so he should be able to produce once more. For me, he is the top quarterback streaming option in week 8. Next up is Carson Wentz, who has finished as a top 20 quarterback in all but 1 game so far this year. He also has 3 straight where he has finished top 15. Not only that, he has excellent matchups over the next 3 weeks. He gets to face Tennessee, the Jets, and the Jags, so that streak should continue. He is an excellent streamer option, as well as an ad for those of you in 2 quarterback and super flex leagues. Both of these quarterbacks are available in over 75% of leagues. Let's now head to the running backs, and we start in the Philly combination of Kenneth Gainwell and Boston Scott. Gainwell could be the top pickup of the week after Miles Sanders went down with an ankle injury, although Boston Scott actually saw more carries than Gainwell did. This is a little bit of a tough situation to deduce. We know that Gainwell's value comes from the receiving game, and he had 61 yards of total offense and a touchdown against the Raiders, whereas Boston Scott is the guy that's going to carry the load on the ground a little bit. He had 7 carries and 8 touches last week after Sanders went down. The matchup with Detroit is also a good one. We now move to Devonta Freeman, running back for Baltimore, and he should be rostered only on teams that have an extra spot and can wait, as the Ravens are on bye in week 8. Freeman did not have a huge game, just 14 yards on the ground. He did add some receiving work, and he was able to save owners with a score. The more so value here comes from the fact that he could be the Ravens' top back, and we know this is a run-heavy offense, although it didn't look like it against the Bengals. While he didn't dominate the workload in the backfield for Baltimore, he was the one that was used at the goal line when he punched in that touchdown, so that is valuable as well. And we still don't know really much about what's going on with Latavius Murray, so it is more a stash and wait and see, just in case he can't come back in week 9. Let's move now to New England, and it seems that Brandon Bolden is the guy, not Ramondre Stevenson, although a little bit of J.J. Taylor was in as well late in a absolutely destruction of the Jets. Bolden caught 6 of 7 targets for 79 yards and should be added just in case his role increases or stays the same. As always with New England backs, we're not really sure what it's going to look like week to week, so this is more of a speculative ad. Move next to Rashad Penny, running back for Seattle. Now, while we are unclear what his workload might look like, the former first-round pick should see plenty of opportunities in his return from IR Monday night, and he might split carries with Alex Collins. This is a speculative ad as well because we know Chris Carson is going to be available to return from IR in a couple weeks. And Seattle's offense isn't exactly lighting up the scoreboard, but there's always value in a running back who could see double-digit touches. We move to our wide receivers, and it starts with Russell Gage out of Atlanta. Now, he fell off of our radars early in the year as both the Falcons struggled offensively and couldn't get much going, and he struggled with his own injuries, but he is back now after having some time to heal up, and he returned with 6 targets, 4 catches, and 67 yards with a score. Atlanta provides plenty of passing volume. We know that they are going to be behind often and have to air it out, and he is widely available. Scoop him up for that volume upside. His next 3 matchups are also decent. We move to the frozen tundra where Lazard looks like the clear number 2 wideout in Green Bay. He secured 5 of his 6 targets for 60 yards and a touchdown in week 7. And after he gets the Cardinals this week, he gets 3 straight plus matchups in Kansas City, Seattle, and Minnesota. Because of the overall lack of volume in Green Bay, he may not see weekly usability. However, he's going to have some big games sprinkled throughout, and it's always good to add some extra depth and options at wide receiver. The other big news coming out of Green Bay is that Devonta Adams, the stud wide receiver, has been placed out potentially due to COVID protocols. So if he misses this Thursday, Lazard could end up being a great start for you this week. Next up is Darius Slayton of the Giants, and he is worth rostering until we figure out what the heck is going on in the New York Giants wide receiver room. As the last man standing in week 7, he saw 9 targets and he had 63 yards with them. Now he gets a Kansas City defense this week that is absolutely reeling, so he'd be in the flex consideration if some of his pals can't go. We move now to Rashad Bateman, who's been here a couple weeks, but his ownership continues to stay about the same. So we're going to continue to preach him until you guys catch on. Now he's available in about 75% of leagues and has got 6 targets in back-to-back games. This past week he was able to rack up 80 yards. He is worth a stash because after the bye, they get Minnesota, the Dolphins, and the Bears, which are all solid matchups. Another guy back on our list, still not seeing enough rostering, is Michael Gallup of the Cowboys. He is available still in about 50% of leagues. He gets Minnesota this week, and he is always good to add a solid piece to an offense that scores a bunch of points. Let's now move to our only tight end option off the waiver wire this week in CJ Uzoma of the Cincinnati Bengals. He's got 5 touchdowns in his last 4 games. He has been dependable, catching 13 out of his 14 targets in that span. We've seen the Bengals offense absolutely rolling of late, so he's going to continue to have opportunities, and he probably is going to produce this week as well in a great matchup against the Jets. Speaking of the Jets, you probably want to play every defense you can against them for the next couple weeks, especially now that Zach Wilson is out. Now, they just traded for Joe Flacco. That doesn't concern me. Cincinnati is one of my top pickups of the week for defenses because they get those Jets. And it's going to be a slaughterhouse in week 8. I think that Cincinnati has probably a couple turnovers. They had 5 sacks against the Ravens last week, and they should dominate this matchup. The last team that we have on our list is the Seattle Seahawks defense against Jacksonville, and I know that this is a risky one because the Seahawks defense has been putrid, but they are starting to get better, and Jacksonville isn't great. They looked a lot better against Pittsburgh, specifically in that second half, being able to hold them down, and I think that they do enough against the Jacksonville Jaguars to warrant a decent start. And that's all we got for you guys for the waiver wire for week 8. Thanks for joining me. If you have any questions, drop those down below. This is Relentless Press. I am your host, Abraham Opatz, and we'll see you next time.